find different versions of the same news in different newspapers. Okay, I'll first come to the qualities of a journalist. We'll just run through the qualities. These qualities, you should understand that these qualities are not only essential for a journalist, but also for ordinary people like all of us. It's not something peculiar. It's not something unique to a journalist. These are everyday skills, everyday requirements, everyday qualities, which will help us to lead a better life. The first and foremost quality is for a journalist is read the news. And for a student, especially for a student of literature, it is read books. A journalist, read the news every day. If you want to be a journalist, I'm not saying successful journalist. If you want to be a journalist, you have to read the news every day. It should be a part of your daily routine. As we eat, as we sleep, as we go to college, reading should be essential. Read newspapers, read books that are beyond your syllabus, beyond your curriculum. Everyone can develop a liking for a subject which is not ours, which is not our main subject. For example, all of you are students of literature. You can get to know something about science, physics, chemistry, astronomy, astrology, space science, because the professional requirement is you have to be a jack of all trades. You have to have a basic knowledge of everything under the sun. So reading is the first essential quality of a journalist, also of a successful human being. The second one is a journalist should forget that you have an opinion. How do we form an opinion? Opinions are formed because of our culture, because of the influence of the society around us, because of the kind of literature we read today, because of the kind of social media posts we look into, because of the people or friends we move along with. There are certain inherited opinions in us. For example, I don't know, it's not a general statement. There is gender bias in many women, sorry, many men. And we are not even aware that there's a third gender, the existence of a third gender. And even in today, in TV, even advertisements are gender biased. There's one popular advertisement that says that cricket is not a woman's game. You play some other game, you don't play cricket. So these kind of opinion, judgments, these opinions and judgments and personal views, prejudices will affect our profession as a journalist. Don't think that you have some opinion. Forget your opinion. Forget our nationality. Forget our religion. Forget our caste. Forget our geographical location. Forget our language. Forget everything. Look at news as it is, as news. If you mix opinion with news, there comes the problem. That is why you get different types of or different versions of the same news in different newspapers. To answer the second question, I'm jumping from here. To answer the second question, this is the appropriate time for answering the second question. Newspaper publication was a service. When newspapers started to print and circulate all over the world, especially in India, it was a service of providing information, opinion, and views to people. News about what's happening around us, news about what's happening beyond them, beyond the country, beyond the state, beyond the town, beyond the district, beyond the world, in the sky, in the cosmos. So every news was brought to the people by newspapers as a service, because the primary objective of newspapers is to provide people with the information they require. So it was a service. Nobody looked at it as a business. So when this happened in the late 18th or 19th century, and then when the freedom movement started gaining momentum, the newspapers of India plunged themselves into the freedom struggle. They reported widely about, exhaustively about the freedom movement happening all over the country. There was no social media. There was no the radio network was not that dense. There was no internet, and so newspapers were the only vehicles that carried news about the freedom movement. So that's how we find that one man, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, was able to lead the whole nation towards freedom because of newspapers, right? So the purpose was again to serve the people, to make the people aware of the freedom movement happening around us, to make the people get themselves involved in the freedom movement, to take people towards freedom. What kind of a freedom? All kinds of freedom: social freedom, economic freedom, political freedom, all kinds of freedom. So after 1947, what was the role of the newspapers? On August 15, 1947, the government of made of Indians had a task in hand. What was the task? It was an underdeveloped nation. They had to build up the infrastructure. There was no enough healthcare facility. There were no enough. There was not enough colleges. There was not enough schools. There was not enough hospitals. There were not enough roads. There was not enough physical infrastructure. There was not enough telecommunication facility. There was not enough drinking water supply. There was not enough sewage lines. So all these things had to be brought in place. The government's agenda, one point agenda, was to develop the country, to provide the basic infrastructure for for I think there were about 60 to 80 crore people when our country became independent. Now it has doubled, almost doubled. So we had 5 year plans. Maybe you would have read about 5 year plans. For 2025, they'll plan in 2020. They'll say we'll construct so many schools in so many places. We'll construct we'll construct so much length of roads, so many kilometers of roads in these places. We'll connect this place with this place. We'll provide sewerage connection to these places. We'll upgrade the facilities available in these places. This was a plan. This was a roadmap for 5 years. So the role of the media, the role of newspapers especially, was to identify the places where sewerage system was required, where drinking water supply was required, where housing was required, where roads were required, where bus facility was required, where street lights were required, where electricity was required, where telecommunication, telephones were required. So the media, the newspapers identified these places and brought to the notice of the government the needs of people. So again, it remained a service. But at the same time, after independence, journalism evolved into a profession, like teaching profession, like medical profession, like an architect, like an engineer. You can respectfully look at a journalist as a professional. But things changed in the 1990s. Something happened, something dramatic happened all over the world. India, like many other countries, all other countries of the world, opened up with a policy called LPG. It was called LPG because of liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Everything was liberalized, nothing was controlled, everything was privatized. Now in India, you see for yourself how services are getting privatized. Everything is getting privatized and globalized. Globalization simply means you can do business anywhere you like without any restrictions, without any control. So after this LPG, many people, many industrialists, many business groups started to take interest in the media. Media involves cinema, media involves telephony, or mobile networks are part of the media. Media involves newspaper printing, book publishing, televisions, and the web. So many corporates started to evince interest in the media. Earlier, before 90s, or even before 1947, before the independence, people who started news organizations did not look for profit, because they looked at journalism only as a service, not as a money making profession. So in the 90s, things evolved, things changed. I don't know whether things change for the better or for the worse. In some areas, for the best, for the better, and in some areas, for the worse. So when corporates looked at the media, they started to publish newspapers, magazines. They started television channels. They started news portals, and their only objective was one to make profit. Only objective was to make profit. But after the 90s, even those who owned media organizations started to believe that they can have political clout, political power, by owning media organizations. So most of the media organizations today, newspapers and television channels, about 70 to 90% of them are owned by corporates. And for them, profit making is the only bottom line, is the only objective. Profit making by any means. And also, owners of media houses want to be politically powerful. That is why you find the same news published in different versions in different newspapers, from the point of view of the owner of the newspaper. But that's a very dangerous trend. If media is not independent, democracy will be at peril. Maybe we'll learn about this much later. But you get different versions of the same news depending on the perspective of the owner, depending on the perspective of the writer, the reporter who reports an incident, that is the only reason why you find different versions. You can easily find out who supports whom by reading a news item. It can be a meeting which is reported by different newspapers, but the information you get is different, because every news item has some color. Every news item has views mixed as news. Every news item has opinion. So the basic requirement of a journalist is I'm reading out the basic requirements of a journalism student, or those who aspire to be journalists. So we should keep our opinion away, we should keep our views away. Once we start mixing news with our views, then it cannot be called the truth, it cannot be called even news. So mixing pollutes the news ecosystem. Mixing pollutes news. That's why so the best way, how do we distinguish news from views, or how do we find out which is the truth? So the best way is, you are exposed to social media, you are exposed to television channels, you are exposed to newspapers. So when you come across the same news item in all these three places, you will be able to understand the truth. You will be able to discriminate what is news and what are the views posed as news. So this is a problem with journalism today, and it was a very good question. So it is left to the reader, it is left to the viewer, it is left to the person who is surfing the net or using the social media to find out for himself or herself what is news and what is views. Okay. The third one is know the difference between news and features. The next class will be about on features. Feature writing. News is different from news writing, is different from feature writing. News is hard news. Hard news means what happened now, what happened today, what happened this moment, what happened in the morning, what happened in the afternoon. Everything is new. Everything, what is breaking, what breaks as news is consumed as news. What happened, why did it happen, where did it happen, how did it happen, when did it happen, who were involved. So these are the questions asked about news. If you are able to get answers for these six questions in a news item, that is news. Feature is something different. Feature is an elaboration of news. It's a descriptive presentation of a news that happened yesterday, last week, last month, last year. So there is a lot of difference between news and features. News is fresh, news is current. Feature can be written any day. It's more of a descriptive, it's more of a description of a of a happening or a news item. It can be an explainer. It can be a backgrounder. It can provide the background. For example, supposing today, I mean, the war gets escalated between Ukraine and Russia, and we report the war. Russia bombed these places. So many civilians left Ukraine. So many people got killed. So many damaged buildings were damaged, and electricity was switched off in these places. These are the happenings of today. A feature is something which explains why Russia is waging a war against Ukraine. An explanation or a background for the war, to know about the war, to know better about the war. Why is Russia unnecessarily invading a country that was still yesterday a part of it? Ukraine was very much part of Russia. That is very much part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR. There was no difference in terms of border. There was no border. Even 30% of Ukrainians speak Russian language even today. So an explainer is a feature. So we need to understand the difference between what is news and what is a feature. Will learn the differences in the next class. Make contacts. This is very essential even for our daily life. Make contacts, meet people, get in touch with people, make friends, because most our learning happens when we are in the company of people who know something about everything. If you want to know why it's raining in say March, it's raining in northern districts, why is it raining? So we need to know about this. The only way is uh, eh, to speak to people, to make contacts. That the most positive impact of your social media is you are able to make contacts. Each one of you must be having a minimum of 100 friends, right? Many of them will be faceless. You will not have even seen them in your lifetime, but you are able to make contacts. You are able to connect. This connectivity, this networking is very, very essential for all of us. Networking is very essential. The basic requirement of networking is you make as many contacts as possible. All good contacts, underline good contacts. What is the advantage of making contacts? Contacts are vital to your work as a journalist. Not only should they be able to tip you off to WhatsApp, the value of contacts is this: if something is happening somewhere, see, we have only two eyes, we cannot be seeing everywhere. If something is happening beyond your sensory perception, your contacts will alert you. Look, this is happening, so that you'll be able to reach the place or get your news easily without any difficulty. Social media is of great help in this context. contacting, networking. Then don't sit around waiting for an email reply. The see Especially after the last 2 years, after the pandemic, the profession of journalism is taking a turn for the worse, because last 2 years nothing happened. The world was at a standstill. So journalists were not required to move around. One, for the reason that they'll get infected. Number two, nothing was happening. But that habit is getting extending beyond the pandemic. Now people are now filing reports, filing news items by getting news over the phone, in the social media. Even press conferences are recorded and circulated in social media, and they get reported. The best reporter is one who is on the spot, who is on this at the spot of action, at the place of action where news happens. That is the greatest trait of a reporter. By saying that don't wait for an email reply, you have to keep on calling somebody, you need to keep on contacting somebody. It is not just enough you send an email expecting a reply. So see, you want to know more about a certain phenomena, something unique, or for example, we have the new education policy. You want to know about the new education policy. It's not necessary yeah, besides attending meetings, seminars and discussions on new education policy, you want to get clarified on certain points raised in the new education policy. So a professor who is very familiar with the policy, and you send a mail to him. And it's not enough that you send a mail and sit at your office or home waiting for a reply. You have to keep on reminding him, you have to keep on calling him. See, this is called follow up. Waiting for an email reply is not follow up. We need to follow up not only as a journalist, as ordinary human beings. We need to follow up everything. See, if you have a work to be done at the collector's office or at your local taluk office, you cannot be under the impression that it can be done if you visit the office once or just meet somebody. You have to keep on pestering them, you have to keep on following up. Following up is very essential in journalism. Following up is essential in life also. You need to follow up. And then learn to spell. This is very essential, because in India we follow the British English. We do not follow the American English. All newspapers follow the British English, but still errors creep in. What is the I think yeah. What is the spelling for program? This is an orientation program. What is the spelling? Program. Okay. Okay. Is there any other spelling? All of you are influenced.
Programme.
That is the right spelling. Program is American. It is not allowed even in academic writing and in journalistic writing. Your examiner, this is the influence of social media. Program is wrong. What is the spelling of color? Color. Right. Happy. Because COLOR is equivalent to PROGRAM. And don't use PROGRAM, because there is a problem in using it. Sometimes if two letters get interchanged, or one letter is missing, you will end up as POGRAM. PROGRAM will become POGRAM. That is dangerous. So be thorough with your spelling. Your vocabulary matters. Your vocabulary includes right spelling, use of right word in the right place, and use of appropriate punctuation marks. So spelling is very important. Spelling, there are many in many places we slip. We go by the pronunciation, or we go by the social media use of English. Let's not get influenced by American English. Globally, British English is used in a majority of countries. American English use, yeah, it's easier to use American English if you learn to use British English. But if you're trained only in American English, it's very difficult to use British English. So you have to be very very, I mean, very you have to be alert about certain pitfalls while writing. uh, for where we need to use double L, we'll use single L. These are the influences of the American English. Where we need to use two R's, we'll use single R. Where we need to use two T's, we'll use single T. So these are the areas where we should be very very careful. Learn to spell properly. Learn to spell properly. That is one of the essential traits of a journalist. Be open to new experiences. It's a lesson for the life. Be open to new experiences. Change is the only permanent thing that can happen in your lives. So accept change, accept new experiences. Don't look at anything as as right or wrong, or victory or defeat. Today's defeat can be tomorrow's victory. So when you are open to new experiences, you get equanimity of mind. When you get equanimity of mind, you are not unduly worried about what's happening to you in your life. So this is a life lesson. Be open to new experiences. Read books. That's the next trait. Read books. And then I'm just skipping some of them. There are 25. Watch good video. Watch good video. We do watch video, but I don't know whether we watch good video. Good videos are very helpful in improving your pronunciation, usage of phrases, usage of idioms, usage of certain classes, usage of certain words, and you get familiar with intonation also. And how do you spell, how do you pronounce often? Often. It's often. we it's often. Often is often. So we come to know about these minor nuances when you listen to good speakers, when you watch good video. And we can also, I can easily say that we can build up our character by watching good videos. I am interested in one particular series. It's a live telecast of court proceedings in one of the states of the United States of America. It's available. It's available everywhere. It's in YouTube. It's called Court in Providence. Providence is the name of the state. Providence. Court in Providence is that's a live telecast of court proceedings. That judge is very very famous all over the world for the way he communicates with people. Because you can learn human communication, human relations, how to deal with a situation, how to be compassionate, how to respect human feelings from this one particular video. If anybody interested in this video can go back home, watch it. You get snippets of this video in YouTube. That he is a remarkable person. His name is Frank Caprio. He is still a judge. Is must be 80 plus. So there, a judge once appointed is judge for life. So he'll remain in that place for life. He's the city judge, and that's a very interesting and very informative, very entertaining also. So watch good videos and embrace the verb, embrace the web, embrace the verb. Be conversant, be competent, be proficient in the use of computers, in surfing, in searching. Searching, while whenever when you are searching for something, it involves the use of keywords. Otherwise you'll be wasting a lot of time on searching for something. So you need to use the keywords that will fetch you the appropriate results. Embrace the web. Try to learn to use the web positively. Learn to use the web to your advantage. Engage in conversation. This is a very important trait of a journalist. Whenever you come across somebody, just don't stop with nodding your head or waving your hand. Stop and share something. Speak a few words. That way, uh, all conversations help you to come out of your shell. All of us get into a shell. We are not the same all the 24 hours in a day. We also have our mood swings. There are ups and downs in the way we present ourselves to the outside world. So the best way to remain calm, to keep balance of mind, is to engage in conversations. Each conversation will get you something very positive. Each conversation will provide you with some information that will be valuable. Then the next one is um, this is very important for all of us. Don't be afraid of asking stupid questions. It is very good. It
Sir,
is.
sir, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Do you have any slides for this, sir?
I don't have any. I'll try
Okay.
to,
I thought
maybe,
that
yeah.
you
Yeah,
shared it, we couldn't see.
yeah. Maybe I'll try to make a slide and send it across. Don't
Thank
be
you, sir.
don't,
Sorry, sir.
don't be afraid of asking stupid questions. We get information, we get enlightened only by asking such questions. Okay, these are the important traits of I think I've we have discussed about 10 or 12 traits. There are 25. Some of them are redundant, some of them are repetitive. So don't worry, these are the main traits. But to be a journalist, you have to keep your eyes and ears open. In this openness means you have to be open. You should be open to everything. You should be open to ideas. You should be open to opinion. You should be open to news. You should be open to views. You should that way you need to be more tolerant. Even if somebody is asking you a stupid question, you should be able to tolerate it, because we ask stupid questions in many circumstances. So we need to be open. Openness is very, very important. Only through openness you can get at the truth. If you're not open, if you're going to mix our views, our prejudices with news, it's going to be dangerous. It's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help us or the reader. Okay. These are the I think I've to some extent answered the two questions. Um, in the last session, we had an overview of the history of newspapers, how newspapers evolved. Today, I'll try to I'll show you a video which speaks about how newspapers evolved. That's a very short video. I've chosen only short videos because we don't have much time. Okay. I'll show you a short video and then we'll move on to this is how this shows how newspapers
There before
develop.
newspapers. Ever thought about that? Perhaps you've seen how in movies, messengers race back from the battlefields with reports on victories or defeats. Word of mouth
This is how in the beginning news was spread.
was the primary source of spreading the news. Humans exchanged news long before they could write. Merchants, sailors, and travelers brought the news to the continent. Then, peddlers and traveling players picked them up and spread them from town to town. Criers walked through villages announcing births, deaths, marriages, and divorces. But how did the history of newspapers begin? Among the first ones who found a written way to distribute the news were the ancient Romans. Acta diurna, or the daily doings, were created by the government and contained information for the public such as chronicles of events, births, deaths, and daily gossip. These daily doings are considered to be one of the first precursors to the modern newspaper. 1440 was an important year for the publishing world. Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press, and the history of newspapers was influenced significantly. The printing press allowed for the high-quality reproduction of printed materials at a rate of nearly 4,000 pages per day. In other words, 1,000 times more than could be done by a scribe by hand. The appearance of the printing press also brought the appearance of the first newspaper. Yes, you've heard me right, the very first newspaper that has ever been published. When? 1609. Where? In Germany. By whom? Johann Carolus. What was its name? Relation al... you know what? Whatever, you see it on screen. News spread out faster than expected. In a short period of time, all of Europe was populated with newspapers, and they even made their way to the New World, America. On September 25th, in 1690, in Boston, Benjamin Harris published Public Occurrences, both foreign and domestic, the first American newspaper. Everyone thought that they had the liberty to write the news freely and truthfully. Unfortunately, that was not the case. A concept like freedom of press was soon introduced in 1791. You've probably heard about this. The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights guaranteed the liberty of expressing yourself in the U.S. But it wasn't until 2 years later that Thomas Jefferson obtained the freedom of the press, for real and for good. Right after this great achievement, more and more newspapers were published in America. But they were so expensive that only the wealthy ones could buy them. That was only until the 1830s, when technology changed the course of events and made it easier for publishers to print and distribute newspapers. With the help of the penny press, the news became available for everyone. The Sun was the first penny press newspaper in the United States that sold copies for just a penny. The history of newspapers was highly influenced by the Industrial Revolution. Giant presses capable of printing 10,000 papers per hour contributed to the massive growth in the newspaper industry. From 2,526 newspapers in 1850 to more than 11,000 newspapers by 1880. And by 1890, some papers boasted circulation above 1 million copies. Moving on to the early 20th century, when color photographs and other elements such as banner headlines, illustrations, and comics revolutionized the look of the newspapers. Speaking of comics, The Yellow Kid is one of the first U.S. newspaper comic strips that existed from 1895 to 1898 and was a huge success. Though the addition of color made the newspapers even more popular, they started to face serious competition when the radio and television made their debut. News over the radio was immediately available rather than waiting for the next day to wake up and buy the newspaper.
Good evening. Here is the official weather forecast from the United States Weather Bureau at the Billings Airport.
And then, the news formats on television were a lot more engaging when compared to the print or radio because it was something modern and way faster. People were glued to their television sets between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. to catch the latest political, sports, and weather update. Still, the newspaper continued to be a reliable source to read the latest news compared to the new media. The information was written and detailed, and people could reread the newspaper as many times as they wanted. Fast forward to today. Once again, technology and the appearance of the computer, and most importantly, the internet, was a big game changer. The New York Times and the Wall Street Journal are two old, prestigious newspapers that are still making good numbers selling printed publications. Even if we're living in a high-tech world, there are people who prefer the classic printed newspapers with their morning coffee. But the digital formats of these publications are also very popular. With just a few clicks, you can discover the latest news in the fastest way. The history of newspapers is still being written these days because people will always choose to be updated with the latest news. And with so much technology that surrounds us, everyone can create their own newspaper and express themselves freely. Platforms such as Flipsnack help you create your own newspaper exactly as you want. Populate it with your own content within minutes. Then choose to share it online with friends and family, or print it for the sake of the classic newspaper.
Okay. There are two terms that we need to understand from this, or two happenings. One is the invention of the printing press that revolutionized the way printing took place in the world. Um, can any one of you recall when the first printing press came into existence? That was in the video.
14.
Yes. Then name of the person who invented the first movable printing press. That was also in the video. Johannes Gutenberg. What happened um, because of the advent of the printing press was this: everyone was able to read books. Books became affordable. Till that period, till the mobile printing press, movable printing press came into existence, books were written by hand. Books were written on parchment. Parchment is leather, dried leather. Parchment by people who are called scribes. Writers were called scribes. It took about 6 7 months or even a year to complete a book, and books were very costly. I'll tell you the cost. um, Manuscript books were sold at a very high price, and only the rich could afford to buy them. Rich means people who owned thousands of acres of land, people who owned castles, people who had 500 workers under them, people who had mansions, people who went from place to place in carriages, horse-driven carriages. What are the price? A Bible, cost of a Bible cost from 150 to $200. The cost of a Bible at that time was 150 to $200. But $200 is not big money, okay? Right now. Today, $200 is not very big money. But we need to place $200 in context. What was the value of $200 then in the 15th century? At that time, the wages of a laborer, the daily wage of a laborer was 15 cents. Say in our in rupee terms, imagine that a Bible cost 200 rupees. At that time, a daily a worker earned 15 paise per day. So he'll be earning what in a month? What will be his earning? uh, Around 5 rupees, 4 rupees and 50 paise. But a Bible costs 200 rupees. And this will help you to understand the cost. At that time, the price of a cow was $2. Price of a cow was $2. Price of a Bible was $200, and the price of a horse was $5, 5 rupees. Let's say 5 rupees, and the price of a Bible was 200 rupees. What will be the cost of a horse today? Any guess? A normal horse, say they use horses in races. What will be the normal cost? 10 to 20 lakhs, yes. 10 to 20 lakh maybe, yes. You get, yes, but standard horses are 50 lakh and above. So compare 5 rupees with 200 rupees, and compare 50 lakhs with what? So that was the cost, that was the labor that went to it. But most importantly, women were not allowed to read books. That was the time when women were not allowed to read books. Women were denied access to language, uh, uh, access to knowledge, access to information. So women, there was gross discrimination of women in the name of literacy by using your books. So the printing press revolutionized reading. One, books were, now you can get a Bible. What will be the cost of Bible today? It was 200 rupees at that time. What is the cost of a Bible? 400 to, you can get a copy of the Bible free of cost today. You don't need to have pay anything for a copy of the Bible. Yeah, if you visit hotels, some of the hotels keep copies of Bible in the lounge, so that if you want a copy, you can pick it. So that is how the economy, or the cost of printing has come down dramatically, unbelievably. And second, first is this: reading was democratized. Everyone was able to read, everyone had access to books. And there was another term, they showed a newspaper, the Sun. They called it the first of the penny press. Can you recollect? There was this, they showed the first page of front page of the Sun, and called it as the first newspaper from penny press. Penny press is again another important development that took place in the development of a newspaper. Even today, many of us believe. How many of you believe that newspapers are meant only for the rich? How many of you? Newspapers are meant only for the rich. There is reason. How many of you believe that newspapers are meant only for the rich?
No, sir.
No, nobody believes that newspapers are meant for the rich. I
No,
am.
Femina, I don't believe.
Oh, right. But I am asking this question from the point of view of economy, right? During the pandemic, many people lost their jobs. There was wage cut, and the first thing you remove from your family budget is
Newspaper,
subscription to
buying newspaper.
newspapers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course.
Yeah, in that context, I
Yes.
refer to newspaper as something which can be which is rich man's option. But it was the same. Newspapers were looked at as rich men's property when they started publishing, because the cost of the newspapers was very high, in the sense the person earning daily wages or weekly wages cannot afford to buy a newspaper. And news printed in newspapers was about the rich, the famous, the affluent people, the politically affluent, the monetarily affluent, and superstars, famous people, politicians, people from the film world. So news published initially was about these people. But the ordinary people, the lower middle class, and below people below the middle class, were simply not interested, because there was nothing for them in the newspaper. So one man thought of providing a newspaper to these people, to this class, because we need to educate them, we need to provide information for them, we need to empower them, we need to make them politically aware, we need to help them to take right decisions in life. You cannot deprive them of a valuable tool of information, that is a newspaper. So what he did was, he modified his printing press to print more number of copies at low cost. And so he brought down the cost of the newspaper to 1 penny. Say, at that time, the equivalent would have been 1 anna, or now 1 paise or 1 anna. Maybe we can say 1 rupee now. 1 rupee. So when you sell a newspaper at 1 rupee, it becomes affordable for all. So information reaches everyone. Again, second type of democratization of reading a newspaper took place in the US, and even today, even in India, you can buy a newspaper for 2 rupees. We don't have newspapers for 1 rupee. That's a subsidized rate of newspapers in some places like Hyderabad, in Chennai, in some other places they sell newspapers for 2 rupees. But that is out of competition. That is to win over the rivals, make profit. But anyway, we get a newspaper at an affordable cost. So it's fine. So I'll show you another video about how printing evolved. And printing, the invention of the printing press helped in improving the technology involved in printing, making printing or books or newspapers very affordable for ordinary people. And as a consequence, it helped in taking information to every nook and corner of the world. Just have a look at this video.
Books were expensive and rare during the Middle Ages. Each copy of a book typically had to be written by hand, copied page by page. In the mid-1400s, a German craftsman named Johannes Gutenberg developed a way to handle this process by machine, the first printing press. His invention combined movable pieces of metal type that could be reused with a press that could produce sharp impressions on paper over and over again. In Gutenberg's printing press, movable type was arranged over a flat wooden plate called the lower platen. Ink was applied to the type, and a sheet of paper was laid on top. An upper platen was brought down to meet the lower platen. The two plates pressed the paper and type together, creating sharp images on the paper. This kind of wooden printing press could print about 250 sheets per hour. The printing press made it possible to produce books and other texts quickly, accurately, and less expensively, which allowed them to be reproduced in greater numbers. Before the printing press, books belonged primarily to the upper classes. But with books cheaper and more readily available, the middle classes could access them as well. This led to an increase in the literacy and education of the public. The development of the printing press has been credited with helping to usher in the modern era by enabling the spread of information across all levels of society. The printing press has gone through many alterations and improvements in the centuries since its creation. Today, newspapers commonly use a method called offset printing. In this type of printing, a plate cylinder inks an image on a rubber cylinder, which then transfers or offsets the images to the paper being printed. The fastest offset presses can print about 70,000 sheets per hour, or about 280 times as many sheets as Gutenberg's press.
Okay, this is how printing evolved from it helped in the evolution of not only of printing but democratization of reading, democratization of access to knowledge, access to information, and more than that, everyone was able to read. Women were able to read. It will be very difficult for us. I mean, I see more women sitting in this class. I'm very happy about it. But in those days, when there was no printing press, women were supposed to dust books in the library, arrange the books in the library. They were allowed only to touch the books, not to read them. So that was the kind of power wielded by men over women. But today we are evolving. We are not fully reached that level of gender parity, but I can say we have reached a reasonable level of achieved a reasonable level of equality of gender. But even today you will find that in some countries, women are not allowed to drive vehicles. They are not they are not allowed to get driving licenses. In some places, even voting is not allowed in some places. So we still have a long way to go. Especially we need to recollect, especially we should be thankful to Johannesburg Gutenberg for this revolutionary invention that has resulted in an explosion of information. Okay. um, we In the last class, I referred to the cartoons of R.K. Lakshman. I'll show a couple of cartoons and then move on to the pages of a newspaper, how a newspaper is structured. This is a cartoon of R.K. Lakshman. This person standing in the middle is the common man. You can identify R.K. Lakshman's cartoon from the presence of this common man. What does this cartoon says? Yes, father. It says.
Sir, actually, we couldn't see the cartoon, sir.
One second. Sorry. Can you see the cartoon? It's very small. Can you see it, or I'll try to show you a bigger one.
Sir, it is not clear, sir.
It's not clear. It's not clear even for me. I'll show you a bigger one. This is the cartoon. This is a typical cartoon of R.K. Lakshman. The person standing in the middle here is referred to as the common man. He is the common man. He'll be found in all cartoons. You can easily identify R.K. Lakshman's cartoon with this man. And what does this say? Yes, father, I know this uncle. He likes the best soft drink, the best toothpaste, the best washing soap. Can anyone say what does this cartoon convey?
Yes, Father, uncle.
Father and son, they are meeting. The father is introducing the child to a cricketer. He's a famous cricketer, but the child says, I know him, he likes the best soft drink, the best toothpaste, the best washing soap. Because
They're seeing
cricketers are used.
advertisements.
Yes. The child is not, well, yes, the child is not able to recognize the person as a cricketer, as a famous cricketer, because that he is
Yes,
laughing at the commercial.
advertise. Uh,
Yes,
yes,
he's laughing at the commercialization of
of
sports.
the best toothpaste. Yes, sir. You
Yes,
are
yes, right,
yes.
right. That's how all his cartoons look. And then, yes, we now move on to the pages. How the pages are structured, how the pages of a newspaper are structured. I'm showing you the front page of the Hindu. This is the front page of the Hindu of any newspaper. On the top, you have the date line, day, date, year, day, month, date, year. And this is called the masthead. In America, in the US, they call it the flag, but this is the masthead. This is the name of the newspaper. In between, you have the logo. Every newspaper has a logo, which represents the policies of a newspaper. Here in this logo, it represents so many things. It will take at least 15 minutes for me to explain, but it's enough if we understand that it represents knowledge, it represents wisdom, it represents information, it represents something new. And here you have you see the sun. It represents dawn, light of knowledge, and so many things. Here you have a Kamadhenu. You have here you have the white elephant. It's called Airavadam. Um, yes, it has so many significances. On the left side, you will find that how many it contains. These two places are called ear panels. These are the ears. Usually, newspapers carry advertisement on these 2 years. These are called year panels. But here we don't find any advertisement. We find information about the number of pages, the cost of the newspaper, which edition, from where it is published, Chennai, and then the coordinates for the online edition, www. On this side, you find the details of the number of the edition, how many volumes, what is the number of the edition. You can understand from when this newspaper has been published, how many editions have come out. And then, yeah, these are the details it contains. Below that, this is called the balcony. All of us know what is a balcony. In several homes, on the first floor, you have a projection called the balcony, from where you watch the outside world, you look at the outside world. Here, this balcony helps us to know which news can be found in which page. What are the important news items that can be found on these pages? For example, this one is notice to 4 police officers. This is in page 6. A rare appearance. This is in page 15. Not enough Baluchis. Page 17. India piles on the runs. Main sports page. You have a good reputed newspaper is well structured like what, like a good building. You have a basement, that is the foundation. You have the ground floor, you have the first floor, you have the second floor, you have connecting devices, you have a lift or you have a staircase. So everything is interconnected. So also a good newspaper is interconnected with distinct sections. This is the main page. In every newspaper, the main page or the first page contains the news, the most important news items from all over the world. This is from all over the world. This one is a new news item from Washington. Fully committed to implementing civil nuclear deal, says Obama. This is a 2009 newspaper. You also have a local item, that is a national item. This is an international item. This is a local item. Babri Masjid demolition was planned, Lebanon. Here on your right, you find a column called briefly. This is balcony. This contains the most important news items that could be found in the inside pages. This is a synopsis or a gist or a snippet of what can be found inside. In every page, you will find these items. You will find this item in page 14, this in 12, this is in 11, or this in 4 or 6. These are all called navigation tools for a newspaper, similar to what you have in a web page. Navigation tools, see, if I'm interested in sports, I'll straight away go to the main sports page. If I'm interested in international news, or especially something happening in this country, I'll go to page 17. If I'm interested in Tamil Nadu, what's happening in Tamil Nadu, I'll go straight away go to page 6, because I have indicators for all these. These are all called navigation tools. And then this is the bottom half. You have the main advertisement here. You have retired major helper links with Headley. These are all important items of the day. This is from New Delhi. This is from Islamabad. This is from Chennai. You in all newspapers, you'll find local items here. This is the Chennai edition. You have two local items, two Chennai news items here. You have the main advertisement here, but can you say what draws you to this page? How do you look at this page? When you look at this page, what draws you first? What is attractive first? What attracts you first? Yes. Good. Because we find this advertisement more appealing than this photograph. So in the construction of a page, importance should be given for photograph. This advertisement is bigger than this photograph, so it naturally attracts. There is a survey called iTrack survey conducted in the US. It tracked the eyes of readers of newspapers using some devices. The finding was, first, a human eye is attracted to the biggest photograph on the page. This is the biggest photograph. If this had been bigger, this would have attracted your attention. But anyway, this is clear because you have so many subjects here, and it is dark. So first we are attracted to this photograph. From here we go to this photograph, and then the eye goes here. Both the eyes go here to the heading. From the heading we go to the second level. This is called the deck, and from there we start to read the news. And even while reading the news, we read the first paragraph. If we are interested, we proceed further. Otherwise we skip. We go to another page or another news item. So the heading is very important to draw your attention. The heading, this second line, this is called deck. This amplifies, this explains the heading. So for many of us, it is enough if we read this portion. We don't go beyond this. Today, newspaper reading is only headline reading. We don't have time, we don't have patience. That is why newspapers use these navigational tools. You, there is something here. This is called a lift out. This is called here you have the major points of this news story here. This is again a tool that helps the reader to read better. And under this, you find this is a reference to a related news item inside in the inside page. So the first page is about all the important news items, that news that happened all over the world, international, national, and local. Right. After this, we are going to this page, which is one of the most important pages in a newspaper. This is the face of the newspaper. This is the only page, and there is another page next to it that is called op-ed page, opposite editorial or open editorial page. These are the two pages that carry views. The rest of the pages should carry news. News as they are, truth, 100%, no mixing of views. But here, these two are the editorials. These two pieces reflect the stand, the position, the opinion, the views, or the standpoint of the newspaper on issues, national, local, international issues. And this is the main article. They call it the main article of the editorial page. This is also an opinion piece. This reflects the writer's opinion on a topic. Narendra Modi and why 2002 cannot go away. This is a political piece which reflects the views of the writer. And here you have a cartoon. Every newspaper has a cartoonist and carries a cartoon every day. This is a better way of sending across views to the people. In this cartoon, they'll say is worth 1,000 words. What you cannot say in a huge piece like this can be said with one cartoon. Below the cartoon, you have the letters to the editor. This column carries the views of readers on so many things, on news, on what the newspaper has written, on the editorials, on this main articles, on the news carried. In this column, readers can be critical of the newspaper, how a particular news item is given, how a particular news item is edited, or they may add information, or they may write their views on particular news. Here it is India's voyage to Mars. This is the Mars voyage, and people would have written about the Mars voyage from their standpoint. This is the editorial page. We'll go to another page from here. This is what we call a regional page. Regional page is news around the place from where the newspaper is printed. For example, the edition, Madurai edition, newspapers printed in Madurai carry news about Sivakasi, news about Satur, news about Virudhunagar, news about Tirunelveli, news about Ramanathapuram, news about Madurai. This is the region. This is the regional news. This is, I think, is a Chennai. This is a Mumbai page. This is a Mumbai page, which contains news only about the region. This is structuring. You can be safe, you can be confident that you can find the news you want in the designated page. You will not find in some of the Tamil newspapers, you will find international news, national news, business news, sports news, and local news all mixed up on the same page. It's very difficult to read such a mix up. There is no mix up in well structured newspapers. Each page carries the news items designated to that page. Regional pages will carry only regional news. City page, there is also something called a city page, which is published only in cities like Madurai, Chennai, Coimbatore, Tiruchi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, where the page will be full of city news, only city news. City news can include so many things. Here even here you will find that there is a weather report here. Weather in Mumbai, today's weather, yesterday's weather, tomorrow's weather, all of these you can find in this page. You can find information on power shutdown. That is very important for us, especially at home. You need to keep everything ready before the power goes off. uh, the electricity board conducts uh, maintenance work in all its substations on a particular day in a month. Every month, one day is allotted for maintenance work, and during that day, for 6 hours or 10 hours or 4 hours, you will not have power supply. So news about power shutdown will be here. This is the regional page, right? I'll show you another page, which is the business page. This is the business page. This is business review. This business page contains news only about business, business, industry, trade, stock market, bullion market, commodities market. This page will contain only business news, right? I think this page will be so small. This is the classifieds page. Classifieds. I referred to classified advertisements in the last session, where you get small advertisements under several headings: rental, job opportunities, for sale, name change, personal. These are the industries. These are the some of the because they advertise, they prefer, advertisers prefer this page, classifieds page, because this is cheaper and it's read by many people, and it's easy to identify. If you want a house for rent in Sivakasi, if you look at the rental column, you will find so many houses, so many advertisements announcing houses for rent. It's easier to find a rental, uh, a place for rent by looking at the classifieds page. Then every newspaper publishes something called a supplement. I don't think you'll be able to see it bigger. This is one of the supplements that came with the newspaper. This is called Metro Plus. Now it's defunct. It's not printed. It has gone online. You can read Metro Plus only online. So this is one of the supplements. These are the attachments to newspapers: 4 pages, 8 pages, 16 pages. So many supplements were there, but newspapers have trimmed their size, and all the supplements have gone online. Right. I think we have reached our time. Maybe if you have time, I'm ready to answer questions. In the next session, we'll move over to feature writing. Any questions?
Any question? Any comments?
Yes. Any clarification, comments, questions? In the last session, there were many questions.
There were many questions in the last session. Fully clear today. Sir, they are highly satisfied today, sir.
Maybe because of the videos. Right.
Sir,
So,
I'm Shanti. I'm
yes,
working
please.
for nearly for 12 years. I have been working here. I'm
Okay.
taking this journalism portion even for the UG level. I have taken even for at present PG level too. I'm handling this paper.
Okay.
Particularly the two units. It is history of journalism and the TV and the radio journalism.
Okay.
Even when I in the previous class, I had a chance of being with the class only for 5 minutes. Even I have suggested Swapna ma'am to introduce this topic, history of journalism.
Right.
Right today, I had a chance of listening to your lecture today, sir.
Right.
What I was taking to the student, it was really new to me, sir. The way you are presenting the history of journalism, even I was searching some videos regarding this history of journalism. I couldn't find the videos that you have taken today. It was really informative, sir. Where have you found it? It is available in YouTube, sir.
It's there in the net. You can get better videos than me. It's all using the right tag words for search.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, even I have
Yes.
tried, but I couldn't collect such videos that you have given today for the students.
No, it comes with. It's easy. It's not something I have done. It's easy. I had better videos last year. In fact, I was searching for those videos. I couldn't get them, but it's okay. These videos are better. I'll try to get you more informative videos. There are videos available, and
But
yes, there is a. You know about MOOCs Swayam.
yes, sir.
There is a course in reporting and writing for print. Reporting and writing for print. It has I think 43 video lectures. All the students can join the. That's a free course. That's a free course. You'll get the required information on
Completed.
joined.
Some students have joined, sir,
Good.
for this course.
How do they find the course?
Yes.
Uh,
Salim, how do you find this course? Okay. Just it is their question, sir.
Oh, questions. Yes, right. Questions. Do you have questions?
Come on, Salim. Come.
Do you have time? Do you have time?
Yes,
I have time. I have no problem. Do you have time?
yes, sir. We
Yes,
also
sir. We have time. 10 minutes we have.
Okay, fine.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon.
It's very nice lecture, sir. I have a question. As you say, first page is important. It contains international news, and the second page is editorial, and third is
No,
regional.
let me clarify. Sorry to stop you. First page, yes, you're right. But page two is not editorial. I just showed you sample pages. I'll tell you this order. Sorry, that's my mistake. First page contains all important international, national, and regional news items. Page two is regional. Page three is regional. Two and three are regional. Page four is state page. If you are in Tamil Nadu, it will be Tamil Nadu page. In Telangana, it will be Telangana page. In Karnataka, it will be Karnataka page. Page 5 is southern states, news from all over South India. Page 6 will be editorial. Page 7 will be op-ed, opposite editorial. Page 8 will be national or news. Page 9 will be national. Page 10 will be international. Page 11 will be business. Page 12 will be sports. This is the ordinary distribution of different pages. As far as sports page is concerned, sometimes you get two sports pages, and also you get two business pages, and also two world pages. It all depends on the number of pages. The base number for any newspaper is 12, but they print anywhere above 14. Rarely they print 12 pages, because you get advertisements. You get advertisements on the front page. No, I anticipated this question. You said news will be there in front page, but we find advertisements. Anybody wanting to ask this question? Why do you find advertisement in the front page? There was a lot of opposition when the Hindu carried for the first time a full page advertisement on page 1. Why do even now many people ask, why do you expect us to read an advertisement on page 1? What we want is we want to look at the news items on page 1. You are carrying an advertisement on page 1. I'll recall a very interesting incident. I was interacting with 9th standard students in a state level meeting of 9th standard students. One student asked me, why is the Hindu so keen on making money? That was his first question. I said, I don't understand. Please explain. He said, you did not carry the news of assassination of Mahatma Gandhi on page 1. You carried only advertisements. He said, at that time, every newspaper carried classified advertisements on page 1. So the news, actually, page 1 was page 3. Page 3 was page 1. 1 and 2 were devoted for classified advertisements. Only in the 80s, the classified advertisements were moved out of page 2. And in the 60s or 60s, classified advertisements were moved out of page 1. So page 1 becomes news page. But today it's the reverse. Full page advertisements are carried on page 1. So you have to go to page 3 to read news. That student asked me, why you should have carried the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi on page 1 instead of the advertisements. I couldn't answer him. It was a very difficult question. Even now, people are not very comfortable reading advertisements. There is something similar, something related to this. In Europe, recently, a particular Tamil newspaper experienced a fall in circulation. Every day they lost thousands of copies, 2,000 copies, 3,000 copies, and they were becoming number 4 or 5 in that region. So a team visited Europe to find out what was the reason. Those who stopped the newspaper explained this to them. In that region, in the west, it is practice to carry big advertisements, big death advertisements. When somebody dies, they carry half page, full page advertisements. You'll find this phenomenon only in West Tamil Nadu, not anywhere else, because we advertise, we announce death through very small advertisements. There you'll find a minimum of quarter page or half page or full page. So when that newspaper, you get the folded newspaper at your doorstep. The newspaper is folded and placed at your doorstep. That person said, when I open the door to collect the newspaper, I look at only the death advertisement. Your front page is almost full of death advertisements. Half the page is devoted for death advertisements. Should I pay to look at death advertisements first thing in the morning? So I don't want your newspaper. So from that day onwards, they stopped carrying death advertisements on page 1. So page 1 is very, very important, very sacred, right? Yeah, please. I interrupted your question.
Sir, is there any reason behind the structure, sir?
The reason behind the structure is, first is it should be easy to read. Universally, page 1 contains all important news. That's everywhere. Even in television news programs, you will find headlines. First, they'll read the headlines. So you get the headlines on page one. That is universal, and you cannot have any other news item on page one. In the rush of today, you have time only to read page one, and rest of the pages you just scan or skim. You just read the headlines. For the other reason for other pages is when, yes, for front page you read in the morning, go to work or go to school or go to college, come back and attempt to read the newspaper in full. For those who have some time, page 2 and 3 carry news about their region, in which they'll be much interested. There is something called proximity. They'll teach you in news writing. There is something called proximity for a news item. Proximity is proximity and relevance. Proximity, how close are you to the news? If there is a theft in your neighborhood, you'll be interested more in knowing about the theft or robbery than knowing more about the Russian war. So proximity and relevance, the news that is proximate, that is very close to you geographically, will interest you the most. So your local items, your regional items appear on page 2 and 3. Then after reading about your regional news, you'll be interested again, proximity, about interested in knowing about what happened outside my region, beyond my region. So you have the state page. You have an overview of what happened in the state. After that, you go beyond your state. You want to know about what happened around my state, closer to my state. So you read about Karnataka, you read about Andhra Pradesh, you read about Kerala, Telangana, so Pondicherry. These are the news items you find on page 5. So most of the people are interested in knowing about news around them. So it stops here. Beyond that, you have the editorial page, you have the op-ed page, you have the national page, you have the world page, you have the business page and the sports page. Depending on your interest, you can read those pages or leave them, or you can go straight away to the sports page and find out who won the test match, or who won the T20 match, or who won the Olympic medal in archery or sailing or hockey. So depending on your interest, the rest of the section of the newspaper is your choice. But this is structured to make to infuse some kind of discipline in news consumption. This is primarily meant to infuse discipline, order. There should be an order. You cannot get a newspaper scrambled. News cannot be scrambled like what they do in some of the Tamil newspapers. You find all sorts of news items on a particular page. That is not the way. This shows how a newspaper is disciplined. It shows character. When a newspaper is structured properly, it reflects the character of the newspaper. Yes. Any other questions?
Any other question?
Thanks very much. Next slide.
Sir, actually, it was a very informative session, not to the students, even to the teachers, sir. You have ocean of knowledge in printing field,
No,
I could say. Sir,
no,
even
no.
I was, even it was very content oriented. Regarding the printing technology, you were speaking so much that we do not know anything. And one more thing, I'm highly motivated to speak like you, sir, as an English teacher. And you are using that vocabulary that you use. It was really, we never heard of some of things. It really it is. It is like a learning lecture to me, sir. Yes, the way you proceeded the class, the way you are understanding journalism, it is like a theory paper. But looking at your lecture, no, it is like watching a video, watching a film. It is like a practical session we are having. you are taking us to even to the the printing field you are taking. It's really, I enjoyed today that lesson, sir.
Thank
It's
you. Thank you.
really thankful. We are all thankful to you, sir, and we are expecting more and more. I don't want to miss your class in future too. As a student, I want to sit in the class. I want to listen to you. It's really that we have to thank the management for arranging such a session, and even to the students. Now it's really a different experience we have it, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for
I, I,
spending your time. And
I just clarify something. I am learning from you, so it's mutual. It's not that I mean, maybe that I've been exposed to this field for the last 35 years, 38 years. I'm able to come out with something, but I really wonder when I search for videos how much ignorant I am in so many other areas. So learning is a lifelong process, and it comes with practice. Anybody can do this. Anybody, all of you can do this. So it's not something very difficult, or you don't need to labor. Just practice.
sir, as you
Yes, thank you
suggested,
very much, sir.
Thank you.
we'll make our student to register for this online course that you have
Please,
introduced
please,
under
please,
SWAYAM.
please, please.
We'll make our student to do that, sir.
Right, right. Just one thing before we leave. Can the students write 10 sentences about anything, about what they want to be, or how they want the nation to be, how they want the people to be? It can be anything, just 10 sentences when you come for the next session, because we are going to start feature writing from the next session. You'll be able to differentiate between what is news and what is feature by practicing it yourself. Just write 10 sentences, if possible. I know it's very difficult. The most difficult task in English is to write 10 simple sentences. It will take you a month's time. I'm not exaggerating. It will take you a month's time. The rules are you cannot repeat your adjectives, you cannot repeat adverbs. Let's forget that task. That's a very difficult task. Write 10 sentences. It can be complex, but try to use only simple and complex forms. Do not attempt compound sentences. Write 10 simple sentences. It's to appreciate your own ability to write. It's not to compare your writing with anyone, or find fault with your writing. I'll try to explain to you what is feature writing in a very simple way. So you write on any topic of your choice,
Sir,
right?
you suggested few topics, no? Could you please repeat?
What I want to be,
Yes, what I want to be,
simply my goals.
simply my goals.
Simply my goals.
Yes.
My goals.
So, okay, thank you, sir.
And then a better world, or a brave new world, whatever. How I want to see India, or how I want to see the world uh, as a human being. It can be anything. It can be your town, or the village from where you are coming to college every day, or about the profession you like. It can be anything. Choice is yours. Just 10
Yes.
sentences. Don't
So
take
we
it
will
as a
ask
task.
students to write on their own, sir.
On the Yeah. Right.
So all these topics, there will be many number of simple sentences in the internet. Yeah,
Yes.
but I have to really thank you for your time and your patience, and it was really very informative, highly informative, sir. And actually, I have not handled any of the journalism courses, but I'm glued to listening to you. As
Thank you.
Shanti stated very clearly that your language is impressive, we would also like to be, even our own children, all the students in the when they were giving the feedback, they told that your language is quite impressive, the flow of language. So, on behalf of the Department of English, I'd like to thank you, sir. Thank you for
I'm
your
trying
time.
to.
So, March
I'm trying
15th,
to.
we will all meet again, sir.
March 15th.
I
Yeah.
think
The next
that
class
will
is,
be a face-to-face session.
yes. Next class is 15th. Okay.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Right. Right. Sure. We'll meet. Yeah. That will be easier. When by 15th you all come up with your writing. Yes. Good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank